Hello there, and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre, and I have a confession to make. We are so busy at the Drax Empire that it was impossible to put a show together today for you guys for this week. And I apologize, but we have a fabulous rerun. We have an interview with Eric Fassbender from Atmospheres, which is a company that provides stock 360 video. And you can get it from their site. You can license it. You can download it. And it's a fascinating conversation with Eric Fassbender, who went around the world to record, actually, for the purpose of relaxation, wonderful spatial soundscapes, also in the Bavarian Alps. He's in Australia. I think he does have a German background. He speaks German almost without any accent, but he speaks also fluent Australian. Anyway, so the occasion of the launch of his stock licensing platform was the perfect sort of trigger for me to rerun this conversation this week when we're just too busy to put together a new show. Eric also has some really good, is very active in the 360 community. And I know a lot of Second Life people are like, oh, I'm not going to listen to this show because it's about 360 video. 360 video is not even VR. It's not even virtual worlds. What do I care? Folks, listen to it though, because it is about creativity and it's about immersion. I do believe we're entering a world where all these things are going to collide and sort of mesh together. So before we go to the interview, real quick, this month is the Tripod month, #Tripod, TRYPOD. And you hear this if you're an NPR listener or if you listen to more of the homemade podcast variety like this one. You will hear a pitch for Tripod. You will see this hashtag on all social media, and that is sort of an awareness campaign. And it's funny because some NPR personalities actually say, podcasts are a very new phenomenon, very new medium, and we need to kind of educate people. And go like, what is a new medium? It's been around for a long time, almost as long, or if not longer than in Second Life. So, but fact of the matter is a lot of people are not aware what podcasts are, how you get them. We're, of course, on all platforms, including Stitcher, which I really love. It's the best aggregate app, I think. But fact of the matter is, if you love this podcast, then put it out on social media and #Tripod. And thank you. And also go to the vendors that sponsor us. Alia Baroque, for instance, fabulous fantasy stuff in SL. Go there, shop, or consider becoming a sponsor, consider becoming an individual sponsor with a voluntary subscription, as I call it. Oh, by the way, Joe is not here. Of course not, because she's boycotting the podcast because it's a rerun. And it's about 360. I don't care about 360, no. Just kidding. So that's it. Please support our sponsors. Please support the Tripod awareness campaign. And little teaser, a lot of stuff happening in Sansar. New videos are coming. Very exciting videos actually coming that I made again. It's not about me, but it's about the person who's profiled. And I think it'll be heartwarming for the people who have a little bit of a Sansar anxiety, Second Lifers may have. I think I'm going to say this every week. Sansar will not, the advent of Sansar will not mean that Second Life will close its doors. That is completely ridiculous. It will take a long time for, I think, Sansar to have the society, the virtual the vibrancy of the virtual society that Second Life has. And it's a very, very different beast. And you'll see. I want to say one more thing. South by Southwest, another mingling of cultural tastemakers, elitists. I disdainly say, I say with a certain disdain for myself, who sometimes goes to these festivals, a high-ranking executive of a German public broadcaster who's actually doing good work, the broadcaster does. I'm not going to say who it is. You can figure it out. I did a bunch of documentaries for them in one way or another. One of those high-ranking executives recently posted on social media that, oh, at South by Southwest, I was in the most amazing VR experience, social VR. Oh my God, you can talk to other people. You can see their avatars and you can look at them and you can interact with them. All right, so since you guys know me, you can kind of guess what happened. I had to reply compulsively and say, oh, wow, 6 avatars, huh? You can interact with them. That's amazing. Never heard of such a thing. Would it be amazing if you had like thousands of people interact and worlds and amazing things happening and interconnectedness and economic activity and to the tune of $60 million paid out annually, blah, 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 the usual spiel. And then somebody said on that thread, oh, you're talking about Second Life? And I go like, indeed I am. Now, that person that we're talking about, that executive, who I will actually meet in real life in 2 weeks because there's an event that I'm going to, and I'm going to bring my recorder and I'll hope to get some tape. She replies, oh yeah, Second Life. Maybe that's there's probably a reason why nobody is using it. I go, really? Nobody's using it? Last time I heard is really vibrant, blah, 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 this and that. And here's what she replied to that one. She replied, well, I'm more interested in creativity and storytelling, and people like have agency over their virtual lives. And I was like, okay, this really bothers me because this person is in a position of power, okay, in the sense that she is an executive at the digital outfit of a large, well-funded German broadcaster, and she is a self-proclaimed expert on virtual reality, storytelling, and transmedia. I work in transmedia, the Bay Area Video Coalition, who was instrumental in connecting Second Life with transmedia storytellers early on with Virtual Guantanamo in 2007, blah, blah, blah. These are experts in transmedia storytelling. This person is not. But nonetheless, she is a sort of whatever they call it, tastemakers or whatever. And people listen to her. And this is what bothers me. It's like, history is written by the winners. And that's not a good thing. Not that Second Life is a loser. In my mind, it's a huge success. But it's a niche. It's relatively small. That doesn't mean it's not valid. I find it actually highly offensive when a person of that stature who's mingling with champagne at South by Southwest says, oh, I'm more interested in creativity, not in that kind of weird, Second Life thing. Yeah, it's just ignorant beyond belief. Anyway, that's my little rant. Let's go to Eric Fassbender. Great interview. And I asked him, how did he get started with 360 video and audio? Here's Eric.
Well, the first time that I actually started thinking about recording nature was on a hike that was in Tidbinbilla National Park, which is about 45 minutes outside of Canberra. I was on this hike with a friend of mine, and we were walking along the path, and at some point we were walking past a creek and walked away from the creek, and I heard the sound of the creek disappear behind me, and at some point I stopped on that path. My friend kept walking for a couple of meters, and then he realized that I'd stopped, and he turned around and he looked at me and he went, "What's wrong, Eric?" And I just stood there and I couldn't say anything for a couple of seconds, and then he asked, "What's wrong?" And I said, "There's no noise." At the age of 30 was the first time that I'd actually experienced undistracted nature, the pure sound of just birds and wind in the trees, and no chainsaw, no buses, no cars, no barking dogs or airplanes in the sky. And from that moment onwards, I started to record or try to look for those pockets in nature where that silence exists, the voidness of man-made sound. I started to record those or seek out those locations and start to record them so that other people can actually experience that as well, because not everyone has the opportunity to actually hear that. And I certainly hadn't for the first 30 years of my life. And it had such a profound impact on myself that I thought I need to give this to other people. And over time, I've released about 9 pure nature sound albums and another 4 or 5 albums together with sound healers and guided meditation healers. And I also worked as a tour guide at some point here in Australia. During that time, I stood on an escarpment at Noarlunga Rock up in Kakadu National Park. I had a fantastic view into all directions from this escarpment, and I just found myself standing on top there and looking in every direction and knowing that for 400 kilometers in any direction, there just hardly weren't any people around. And I found myself thinking, I wish I could show this to people. I wish people could experience this. And so this is maybe 8 or 10 years ago when I had this idea, this wish to give this experience to other people. And it's taken another 8 years until the first Oculus Rift was announced, and then I could finally see, yes, with this device, this might actually be possible.
Now you're transitioning from stereo to 360 audio. Can you explain how much more difficult is this?
It's actually become easier, to be honest, for the simple reason that I now only have one microphone which has 4 capsules on it, but it's only one microphone. So I have less gear that I actually need to take out there, and the setup is a lot easier. And the beautiful thing about these ambisonic microphones that we predominantly use nowadays, from the A format that you are recording with these microphones, you can pretty much generate every format that you want. You can export as stereo, as 5.1, 7.1, as quadraphonic, whatever your heart desires.
What is ambisonics?
It's been around for quite a while. I'm not too certain about the history. Back in those days, there wasn't really a big need for spherical or spatial audio because people only had stereo speakers, Eventually, they upgraded in their home theater systems to a 5.1 surround sound system. But that 5.1 system is not really designed to capture the world in all directions, which the ambisonic format actually does. And there's first order ambisonics, which predominantly records on the horizontal plane. And then there's higher order ambisonics that also record and play back the signals on a vertical scale. So you can actually hear a plane flying over your head.
And 5.1 is basically 5 speakers plus the one which is a subwoofer.
And you usually have 3 speakers at the front, with one being left stereo and one being right stereo. And then the center channel, that is usually where you've got your voice, your communication of the actors. And the rear channels, they are predominantly effects channels. So for a fighter plane approaching from behind, or explosions and that sort of thing.
Let me ask you, when you're recording now in the field, give me an example of what you're actually recording, because your company Atmospheres is making these for relaxation purposes. And what I'm wondering, what images do you actually use for these products right now? Are these static images that you shoot yourself, or are you collaborating with a videographer?
No, I shoot myself. I go out to all of these places myself, and I shoot 360-degree video. The ocean is in front of you and you're looking in that direction, then the sound should come from the front. But if you turn your head with a virtual reality headset and you're looking towards the right, then the sound of the ocean should actually predominantly hit your left ear as you turn your head. So we need that spatial information.
Do you then put the microphone on top of the camera? How does that work in the field? Describe that a little bit.
It depends. Usually I put the microphone and the sound recorder just slightly in front of the camera, which is on a small monopod on the ground. So the microphone is about 20 centimeters in front of the 360 video camera. And that is if I need synchronized sound, that like waves crashing, or if there's lots of birds around, or other animals and that sort of thing, if I need the sound to be properly synchronized. However, in some situations, like for example a waterfall, where the sound is always the same, it doesn't really matter whether the sound is synchronized or not. So in those situations, I sometimes just record the video, and then after I finish that, I place the microphone and just record the audio.
A friend of mine was just in Chernobyl for the German Spiegel magazine, and I talked to him to pick his brain on post-production, and he said it is a nightmare. Obviously, when people cross the lines where the camera lines, you have to align that. The color correction. Talk a little bit about that. What's the state of affairs? Have you gotten faster in your workflow?
As your friend said, it is a nightmare. Or let's not say it's a nightmare. It's just highly complex at the moment still, because those 6 GoPro, and there's 3 GoPro versions and 4 and 2. Those multi-GoPro solutions, they are basically a hack. Those GoPros from the get-go weren't developed as virtual reality or 360-degree cameras. So what we do is we take those individual videos, we synchronize them in time. So all of them start to run at exactly the same time. And then we stitch them together into a spherical video. And I'm a color certified trainer for 360-degree video. And that is also my preferred software for stitching these videos. Color Autopano Video together with Autopano Giga, which is or started out as a panoramic photo application. And with these tools and the right knowledge, you can get pretty good results. However, you got to keep in mind, like you wanted the comparison between a standard video and a 360 video. So from a standard video, you can just transfer that onto your hard drive from whatever video recorder you've got, and you cut find the in point, cut away the beginning and cut away the end, set your out point, and then you can use that basically straight away in your video editor, like Premiere Pro, for example, or Final Cut.
Then syncing with the audio, as I understand, the field microphone that you have from Soundfield is giving you already sort of a mapped audio. So is that a big post-production mess when you put that together with the video, or is that pretty straightforward with that particular microphone?
Well, it doesn't really matter which microphone you use, which ambisonic microphone. They are all very similar. The problem is with the output platforms, and there's quite a number of different standards that are out there these days. And to be perfectly honest, at this point in time, I'm only recording for future purposes. I'm future-proofing my sound recordings by recording in an ambisonic format. I'm currently actually exporting in stereo, for the simple reason that when I did some trials by exporting into a 5.1 surround format, which the Gear VR at that point in time was the only format that it supported, I could hear distortions based on turning my head, because the processors in the mobile phones, they can't actually decode the data fast enough, so there are distortions in the sound. And that's when I decided I'm I'm not just exporting 5.1 surround sound, especially since it's not very well suited for virtual reality, just for the sake of having surround sound if the sound quality is lowered. So I decided to just go with stereo for the time being until such time comes when a standard has been established across all the platforms. I'm going to do just that.
I wanted to ask you, does it bother you that VR and 360 video is being used interchangeably now by the people who want to make this make as much money as they can? The venture capital folks.
Sometimes people use spherical video, and different brands seem to try and want to coin their term for this. 360 video, people look at me and go like, "Oh, what exactly is that?" And always have to explain that you can see in every direction. And virtual reality, you can tell people put this headset on, and even though it's not actually a virtual reality, it's actually an authentic reality that's been reproduced, rather than computer generated.
Exactly. I think that's how you would normally explain it, physical reality versus computer generated reality, I guess.
Yeah.
So one of your products, the Bavarian Alps, beautiful. I was actually just there last week with the dog. So now I don't have to walk up the Zugspitze or any other mountain there. I can pop on the headset and then what happens?
Well, this was the Bavarian Alps atmosphere was predominantly shot in the Berchtesgaden National Park area. We hiked up some of the mountains. On one occasion, we hiked 1,200 height meters, and you can imagine that with 10 or 15 kilos of gear. Also sleeping bags because we stayed overnight in one of the huts. But we were extremely lucky. We had some of the most beautiful weather up there, and my girlfriend, she's incredibly good at spotting animals, and at some point she just saw these marmots, like weasel-like creatures, that live in little burrows. We went to them, and they're usually extremely shy and very hard to capture on photo or film. And so we just took our chances and put up the camera and let the camera run for 15 or 20 minutes and walked away some 100 or 200 meters and just sat down and enjoyed the view. And those are actually those moments because you don't have a preview or anything. You don't know what the camera is recording, and when you then get back and you still can't preview, you have to wait until you get home.
That is nerve-wracking. I mean, just, oh God, you're spending hours that you don't even know if you're on the, I was just going to say, I mean, you need to make sure that you're not in the frame. I mean.
Yeah, with my shots, we always hide behind some bush or behind a rock or a tree or something like that. And you can't actually see the camera. And that becomes incredibly difficult if you place the camera on top of a 200-meter cliff in Ireland.
And then you hide, and then all of a sudden the batteries give out. And then you have to run back and change the batteries.
Yeah, oh, that has happened on occasion, although not that much these days.
So the purpose of this, I mean, the purpose is manifold. It depends what you use it for. But you're marketing this as relaxation. And very early in our conversation, you said you put out albums with nature sounds that are used for meditation. I can use it by myself at the end of the day.
That situation that you just described, of people coming from work and just wanting to get away and unwind for half an hour, that is one of the major target groups, I would say. Those are the people, or one group of people, for who I see the atmosphere being a perfect tool. And another couple of groups that I can see is cancer patients, who are having chemotherapy, who sit in a chair for 4 or 5 hours without having, like without having the ability to do anything, and they're just sitting in this sterile room for hours on end, and dialysis patients.
Could you also combine your product with somebody who would add a voice to it and guide in a meditative session? Who would give instructions in terms of how to breathe and what to do and what to kind of envision? Or is that something that you might offer in the future? I mean, I could immediately see maybe even a scenario where you can mix that in yourself somehow. You have only nature, and then you have a fader that brings up the voice and you bring it back down.
And that is something that I'm working on with a mobile app. So I'm currently having an app developed for Android that you can then use in a Google Cardboard or whatever VR headset you decide to use. And in that app, not in the first version, but in a follow-up version, you will have the opportunity to put in your own tracks, and you can change the volume of each track, of the nature sounds and of the voice, and you can exchange those tracks with either your own personal preference of guided meditation, or you can then choose from some that are provided.
Well, if the listener is now completely confused, I would not blame him or her. We're going to link to a whole bunch of things on the blog. And Eric, also, you're the founder of the Spatial Audio and VR group on Facebook?
Yes. I should say it's a funny thing with that group because I founded it. I was part of the 360 video group, and at some point, because I'm so interested in sound and field recording, nature sound recording, I thought this is something that we really need to discuss somewhere else, spherical video or spatial audio. Spherical audio or spatial audio. And so I founded this group, and I invited a couple of people where I knew that they were into sound. And nowadays, there's just so many people on there who have much more knowledge about that whole area than I do. So I always say to people, if you don't know much about an area of interest and there is nothing out there, just found a Facebook group, and invite people. If you build it, the people will come, and it's fantastic. It's a really, really good community and very friendly people, and they all just try to help each other out. So thanks also to all the people that are on that group. Thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, I'm just throwing this out that the H2 field recorder from Zoom, which I had for years, and I'm finally upgrading to the H2N, which actually is ready to go, according to them, for spatial audio. So that's maybe a light at the end of the tunnel. For $160, people can start recording spatial audio if they want to.
Yeah, that was a fantastic announcement.
My last question: how do you see the future of the acceptance of virtual reality? I mean, like I said, like the past bunch of podcasts, when you're in Silicon Valley, in that sort of bubble, if you will, people are going nuts about it. This is the next big thing. It's a no-brainer. I have friends who worked in virtual reality for a long time. Jackie Mori was on the show many times. They're enthusiastic, but also a little bit. They've seen hypes come and go, and the acceptance I'm talking broad mainstream acceptance of people putting on goggles. It doesn't go that fast. So what do you think? I mean, are we going to, you just talked about a mobile app and will people pop this on in the subway maybe with headphones, shut themselves out completely?
I have sat on airplanes using the Gear VR, and the funny thing with that is, at first when you start bringing the headset out, and you start preparing it, and you're fumbling around, and people start looking at you, and you feel a bit strange. But as soon as you actually put the headset on, you don't care. Because the people are gone. You don't see them anymore.
Ah, beautiful.
And you are immersed in this other world, which is much nicer than a plane, or a hospital room or whatever other environment,
In other words, you're saying when people taste the drug that you give them,
Yeah.
last week I said it's like selling weed on the playground. I'm trying to find another metaphor. Then they will see, wow, this is amazing, and then they will be basically convinced.
Well, basically, this is what every religion wishes for. Once you put it on, you are a convert. It's extremely hard to explain to people, and you got to talk to them, and you can explain it, but they will not get it until they actually try. And to date, I have not seen a single person take the headset off and go like, nah, that's rubbish. Everybody has said, wow, this is amazing. And I've been around long enough for the whole 3D TV hype, and everybody was skeptical about that, and with right reasons. But with VR, virtual reality, whether it be computer-generated gaming or 360 video in virtual reality headsets, that is here to stay.
So that was Eric Fassbender, previously show number 118, correct? Yeah. Yeah, great stuff. And again, he just launched his stock video platform where you can subscribe and you get videos from all over the world. Really good stuff. If you want to go to the Australian beach, if you want to go to the Bavarian Alps, you can do that. There's pricing of 3 licensing levels. Yeah, so that's it for the show. Short show today. But next week, the show is called The Trough. And you know what that means. It's the trough of disillusionment, where virtual reality is in right now, according to one website. And because we cover all the important news, we're going to go after what this website says and just pick it up and run with it. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay tuned for the next Sansar video and the next Second Life documentary, which is in progress. It took me a lot longer than usual for this one because so much is going on. But this upcoming Drax Files documentary will, I think, be really, really good. It'll illuminate the use of Second Life in education. I have nothing more to say. Have a good one. Bye. Thanks for listening.
Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, Bay City You Know for Kids, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Extraordinary, Ionic, Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Eros Avatars, Caravel Design, The Cube Republic, What Next, Landscapes Unlimited, Fallen Gods Incorporated, and Death Row Designs. Thumbnail by Justin Esparza. Contact the show via Skype, DraxFiles, Avatar DraxFiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com.
Yeah, and just in case you guys are curious, the cheesy early '90s pop rock music that is running underneath, including the guitar solo, that's yours truly. That was from my first life back then, an old life, a different life. It was fun though. I'm just going through archives because I'm too lazy to record new music. Oops, the phone is ringing. Gotta go, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.